Hello everybody, and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic, and today, oh boy, we've got us a great story here. I know that this is something that has been covered on a lot of news sites. I know this is something that probably other people have covered on YouTube as well, but this is something I feel needs to be discussed. So this is an article that was posted today at 1 p.m. by Sam Barsanti at avnewsclub.com, and here it says George Lucas's Star Wars sequels would have been all about midichlorians. Oh boy, well that just sounds awful, but at the same time I can't help but think that this was released recently or uncovered recently to try and take away some of the bad news, some of the bad press about Solo losing at least $200 million. Again, people are throwing around $50 million. That's just not accurate. Again, based on the numbers that we know about the production, based on how we know that movie production companies do not make 100% of box office take and does not take into account all the other different factors, we know that this film is going to lose, at least at this point, because the numbers have just been so bad, at least $200 million. And so that is just based in reality. It's based on the numbers. If you want to check out my numbers, go ahead and check out my previous videos. If I have made any flaws in my thinking or in my math, please point them out to me. Again, I would love to have constructive criticism and have a conversation about that, but there's just really no evidence there. And so part of me really thinks that this has been released to try and throw us off from that, to try and say, oh, well, it could have been so much worse. Well, maybe it could have been worse, because most of us probably hate, I know I do, when I heard about midichlorians, I thought to myself, what in the world are you talking about? What is this madness? And again, that's something that a lot of people didn't like the prequels for. There are some people who did, but that was one of the elements to it that a lot of people did not like. And so obviously, I feel that this then is an attempt to try and take the minds of people being critics of this film off in a different direction, say, oh, it could have been a lot worse if it had stayed in George Lucas's hands. But you know what? At this point, I will say I think I'd rather see a movie series focused solely on midichlorians than the garbage that we're getting from them instead. So anyway, let's see what he says first off. So he says, a handful of people really hate what Disney has been doing with Star Wars, partially for racist and sexist reasons. Wait, what? Wait, well, again, partially, do you mean like 10 out of 100 people? Like, do you mean those, like, do you mean partially in that way, or do you mean more than that? Because if you mean more than that, you haven't been paying attention. Because just because there are a few trolls online who will say racist and sexist things, that is not what the core group of people who are angry about what Disney's doing with Star Wars has been. And it isn't even really what Disney's been doing. It's been what Kathleen Kennedy's been doing, what Rian Johnson, Pablo Hidalgo, all these other people have been doing. John Kasdan coming out and talking just nonsense about his film. Those are the things that we've been critical of. It has nothing to do with race or gender or any of those things. That has nothing to do with it. So the fact that this person at AV Club is saying this right off the bat kind of tells you the tone of the article overall and what the agenda of this person is actually going to be going forward. And so I'm just so sick and tired of hearing those words, because they are being used so much now. They have seriously lost any and all meaning, because if someone who is not a racist or a sexist will just be called it just for not liking a film, dear Lord, man, I mean, what are we going to be, what language can we actually use to describe people who are those things? I mean, it just, again, see my previous videos when I talk about language, because it is so important how we talk to one another, how we describe one another, how we go into certain things. Again, there are some people who attack people personally, who will talk about people's personal features, things like that. And you know what? If that's their choice, that's their choice. Again, I'm not really a huge fan of it myself, which is why I try to avoid it. But it's the same thing here. Go away, McAfee. Oh my goodness, I'm so tired of McAfee. Anyway, so racist and sexist reasons, whatever that means. But only the most dedicated hater of all okay, thank you. Dedicated hater of all things good and pure could think that George Lucas's original vision for post-Return of the Jedi sequels would have been better, really. Well, it depends. We've heard bits and pieces of what Lucas was planning for the future of Star Wars movies before, but a quote in the companion book for James Cameron's Story of Science Fiction TV show hints that Lucas had some truly terrible things in mind. So George Lucas says, the next 3 Star Wars films, we're going to get into a microbiotic world, but there's this world of creatures that operate differently than we do. I call them the Wills, and the Wills are the ones who actually control the universe. They feed off the Force. If I'd held on to the company, I could have done it, and then it would have been done. Of course, a lot of the fans would have hated it, just like they did Phantom Menace and everything, but at least the whole story from the beginning to end would be told. Well, I have to say right off the bat, Does it sound like a good film? No. Does it sound better than the nonsense that we've been getting? Absolutely. I would rather see 3 films on midichlorians and the Wills. In fact, you can give all the Wills little personalities and have them speak a foreign language and have subtitles. I would rather watch that. I would rather watch 3 films 2.5 hours long than watch Star Wars The Last Jedi again, or anything else that Rian Johnson would put forward from this point if he's going to continue the same nonsense that he's doing. I'd rather watch that than watch Solo again. Again, Solo was not a total garbage film. I will say that off the bat. But to be honest, at least this would be entertaining. You know what? At the very least, I would be laughing my ass off because it would be so funny. You know, at least it has that going for it. But, oh, my goodness gracious. All right, so essentially, he was planning to lean into the stuff that fans really hated about The Phantom Menace. I agree with that. Specifically, the midichlorians and the scientific explanations for the Force. It also would have involved the Wills, a vague Star Wars concept with conflicting definitions that enjoyed some minor relevance in Rogue One. Okay, Guardian of the Wills, interesting. To Lucas's credit, he knows that a lot of the fans would have hated it, but then, at least the whole story from the beginning, again, at least it would have been a complete story, probably a competent story, more competent than the one that we've been getting, where a whole universe was set up in The Force Awakens, that whole universe was torn apart in The Last Jedi, and God knows what we're going to get in Episode 9. So, again, at least it would have been a complete story that would have stayed on task. You know, even if it was a little midichlorian Bob just floating around saying, "Oh, my name is Bob, and I'm the member of the Force." You know what? At least I could have laughed at that. It would have been terrible, but you know what? At least I could have laughed at it. At least I could have had fun and been entertained by that instead of this nonsense that we've been getting. Anyway, that last bit makes it seem like Lucas thinks this microbiotic world stuff was really important to the Skywalker saga, even if nobody wanted to hear about it, which is the same sort of unchecked attitude that made the prequels so bad in the first place. Again, there are some people who will defend it. I know that Jeremy at Geeks and Gamers, he defends it. He likes the prequels. I personally do not. I definitely think that when it comes to the last one, Revenge of the Sith, I think that that's not a terrible film. It's not really a great film either, but compared to the other two, it's essentially The Godfather. But again, there are some people who will defend it and like it overall. Did you feel that, Star Wars fans? You just dodged a blaster shot like Han Solo in the special edition, so I appreciate that. Unless you're one of the fans who thinks Lucas's plan still sounds better because it doesn't have so many darn girls, in which case you're no better than Greedo. Okay, well, once again, very few people, again, I would say probably 3 out of a group of 100 people actually have that mindset where they hate characters just because they're female, just because they're Asian or whatever. Very, very small group of people, because there are, no matter what we do in the world, no matter what we do with our culture, there is always going to be a small group of people who are going to have those hateful thoughts, who are going to have this twisted view of the world. That is not the majority. The people at Geeks and Gamers, World-Class BSers, Ethan Van Sciver, they do not care about this stuff. We do not care about this stuff. The fans, the majority of fans, do not care one way or the other. I said this in my previous video. We want good characters. We want good stories. We don't give a damn about any of this crap. So stop trying to paint every single person in this light. Stop trying to paint every single one of us as if we're all racist and we're all sexist just because we're critical of the film. Again, a very, very, very small group of people actually believe in those things, actually are hateful people. Very few people do, though. So we can still be critical of the film, and we can still say, you know what, I would rather that. I would rather George Lucas, make a terrible trilogy than have to sit through this nonsense that we've been going through, because you know what, I do. Because again, I go back to the prequels, and are they terrible films? Absolutely. But you know what? I laugh so much. There are so many lines that I quote from the prequels. Again, I admit that they're terrible. I admit that they're garbage. But you know what? At least they're funny. At least they're entertaining. At least I can get through them. That's why I actually own the entire series. I own all the prequels. I own the original trilogy. I own everything. Because you know why? At least I can be entertained by those films. This nonsense that we have now, it's just frustrating. It's just bad. It's so bad that you want to turn it off. So don't try and paint people in this way just because they don't like this story, just because they don't like these characters, because it has nothing to do with these things. It has nothing to do with it. You are the ones that care. You are the ones that want all females running the store. You are the ones who want POCs in charge of everything just for the sake of having it. Again, there's nothing wrong with those things. There's nothing wrong with women. There's nothing wrong with people of different backgrounds, ethnically. It does not matter. Those things do not matter. What matters is, are they a good actor? Is their character well written? Those are the things that matter. Everything else is secondary. The problem is that we have these SJWs out there who put all of this other stuff as the first thing. And what it's doing is that it's tearing apart this universe. It's tearing apart this franchise. So no, writer for AV Club, no, it's not because people are racist and sexist. It has nothing to do with that. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. Whew. All right. Is that it? Yes, that is it. All right. So what do you guys think? Would you rather have this new trilogy by George Lucas? Would you rather have had an entire trilogy on midichlorians? Again, just think about it, guys. A midichlorian Bob and a midichlorian Nancy go out for a walk in the park. Imagine it. I mean, I'm already smiling and I'm already laughing because you know what? It would have been bad, but at the same time, it would have been entertaining, better than what we have now. And so, yes, I can say that and still not be a racist, not be sexist, etc. So thank you again. Let's see, who was this again from? Yes, Sam Barsanti. Yes, people can think that George Lucas being in charge of this universe, making a terrible film, we can think that it's still better than what we have now. We absolutely can. Again, everyone has a right to their opinion. I respect people's opinions on this channel. I respect anyone in the comments who has a different opinion than me. As long as they are able to present it in a cogent and respectful way, I have no problem with them commenting. I have no problem responding to it, having a good dialogue and conversation. I love to do that. What I don't like is when people just try and paint people in this broad brush in this way, calling everyone racist and sexist. It's just getting old. Find new words, or at least learn what the words that you're saying are actually meant for and what they actually mean. I would greatly appreciate that. But please, guys, let me know in the comments below if you want to see this trilogy, if you would like to see this trilogy, or if you think that this trilogy would be better. Go ahead and answer the AV Club's essentially the challenge that, that no one in their right mind, no real Star Wars fan, unless they're a racist or a sexist, would actually want this. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this. Also, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please give me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. If you also like it, please share it as well. Again, that does mean it really does mean a lot to me. For anyone that has shared it, for anyone who has liked it, anyone who has subscribed, I'm so grateful for you. I cannot believe that I'm already up to 270. Again, seems like a very small number to some people, but for me, it is the world because it just is so great to be able to talk. I've met so many great people who have had some really good conversations, not only on my channel, but also on Twitter as well, and it's just so much fun. I mean, it brings so much joy to my day. And again, this is why we do this. This is why we're so passionate about it. Because yes, are there more important things in the world? Absolutely. When you put things in the grand scheme of things, there are more important things in the world. But that does not take away the fact that this is a universe. The Star Wars universe is something that brings joy to so many people. It brings joy to the lives of so many people. Again, we are struggling, a lot of us in our lives, with various things, some more than others. And sometimes there are things like this that in the end, yeah, they don't matter, but they at least bring joy to that person. And so when someone takes a crap all over that, it's just something that we just are not going to be silent about, and we're not being silent about it, and our voices are being heard, and we are getting out there, and we are many. We are the fandom menace. Again, this is a phrase coined by Ethan Van Sciver, and we are truly the fandom menace. We are going out there. We are the ones who are stepping out, being vocal, and you know what? We're not racist. We're not sexist. Again, very, very small minority of people who actually fit into that. Again, we need to be very clear with our language because you cannot throw words like that around without it having repercussions. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. And as always, God bless. And may the force be with you always.